Hey everyone, welcome back to Impact Online. This week we're going to start out by playing a game that you have to try and use your brain and try and figure out what these three things that I give you have in common. All right, so what kind of things do these things have in common? So for instance, our first one is going to be black, brown, and koala. So black, brown, and koala, what do they have in common? What do those three things share? Thinking about it for a moment. Tell me your answer. You got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is bear, okay? And so probably most of you got that. They're all bears, brown bears, black bears, and koala bears, okay? Here's the next one. Car, elephant, spare bedroom. Car, elephant, and spare bedroom. What do they have in common? Got about 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, the answer is they all have trunks. All right, maybe your spare bedroom has a big trunk in it, maybe not, but that's the combination between those three things. All right, here's the next one. Paisley, Garrett, Pitt. Paisley, Garrett, Pitt. What do those three things have in common? Trying to think. Maybe you've got it immediately. Maybe you're like, I have no idea. The answer is they're all famous Brads. They're all famous Brads. All right, Brad Pitt, Brad Paisley, and Brad Garrett. All right, here's another one. We're going to go with entomologists, spies, and Volkswagens. Entomologist, spies, and Volkswagens. What do they have in common? All right, thinking some of those are big words. And you're like, I don't know what that means. All right, the answer to that one is they all have bugs. They all have bugs. Spies have bugs, and entomologists study bugs, and Volkswagens have the Beatles. All right, here's our last one combination. Elimelech, Kilian, and Malon. Elimelech, Kilian, and Malon. What do those three things have in common? Okay, some of you guys are like, I have never heard of those things or names. Some of you guys know maybe immediately. But those three are people who are related to Naomi. All right. In the Old Testament book of Ruth, there's this lady that we meet. Her name is Naomi. At the beginning of the chapter, we see that she is married to Elimelech, and they're living in, the land of the Jews in Judea area. And while they're there, there's this big famine. And so because of this curveball that's been thrown at their life, they're like, we can't stay here anymore. And they decide they're going to move to Moab, all right, away from where they're at because there's food there. And so while they move there, all right, they have a couple sons, and their sons, while they're there, get married. Okay, so you can just imagine that they have sons there. Their sons are married, and she's living there. But there's some things that happen while they're in Moab. For instance, number one, Elimelech dies. The text doesn't tell us how. We just see that he dies. So now Naomi is a widow. But also during those 10 years while they're there, both sons die. And man, I can only imagine what's going through Naomi's mind. Like, God, why is all this happening? I mean, I continue to trust you, and my husband and my kids have both passed away. Well, after those 10 years, there's now food back in her hometown. And so she's like, I'm going to move back. And she makes all the preparations and everything's ready. Well, her 2 daughters-in-laws named Orpah and Ruth are ready to go back with her. Well, what you need to know is, just for a fun fact, Orpah is actually the name on the birth certificate of a famous woman named Oprah Winfrey. She was actually named after this Orpah in the Old Testament, but people kept messing up her name, and so she finally just decided to go by Oprah. But these 2 women, Orpah and Ruth, are ready to go back with Naomi to Naomi's homeland, not their homeland. And Naomi says, you know what? I know we're ready to start out, but you guys don't need to go back with me. Like, everything like that your life is all about is here. And I'm not going to be able to have more sons that you can get married to, and so you should just stay here. Well, weeping and crying, Orpah agrees, and so she stays in Moab. But Ruth says these words, the words that maybe you've heard before. She says, don't urge me to leave you or turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. And where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. She even says, where you die, I will die, and there I'm going to be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if anything but death separates you from me. She says, I'm sticking with you no matter what. And so no matter what Naomi does, Ruth stays with her. And so then they go back to the hometown of Naomi. Now, if you read the rest of this book, it's only 4 chapters long, but you see how Ruth is faithful to Naomi and making sure that her needs are taken care of. And she goes out and gets food. You read about how she meets a man named Boaz and how throughout time she ends up kind of asking if he's going to end up wanting to marry her. And they end up getting married. Now, that's a big deal, not just to Ruth, but to Naomi as well, because now all of a sudden she is able to be taken care of. Like he's able to meet her physical needs. And so it's a really cool thing that Ruth does. Well, not only that, Ruth and Boaz have a son. And this son is named, I think it's Obed. But what you need to know is that Obed is like the great granddad of Jesus. And so that's a really cool thing. But a couple things that you need to know is that earlier when Naomi comes back into town, like all these women look at her and they're like, whoa, is that Naomi? She says, don't call me Naomi. I want you to call me Mara. That name means bitter. She's like, the Lord has brought bitterness on my life. I went away full and I've come back empty. And so you see that life is just taking its toll on her. But here at the end of the book, you see her again full of joy. She's holding this son and people are praising God that she is getting to experience all these things. And so you see this transition back from Mara to Naomi, which her name means pleasantness. You know what? I don't know what's all going on in your life right now, but a couple things that I do see from this story is that there may be tough times that you go through, that Naomi had to experience, but even when she was wondering maybe why, she never quit believing in God. And no matter what the difficult circumstance is, I pray that you would not give up on God, that you go, man, his realness, there's no questioning. He is definitely there. I might wonder why certain things are going on, but I'm going to continue to take one step after another step following him. The other thing I see in this text is that, man, it was super helpful for Naomi to have a Ruth in her life, someone to come alongside her and encourage her. And I hope that you have someone in your life that's that way. Maybe more than one person, people that come alongside and encourage you and help you to take that next step. And I even wonder, who are some of those people maybe during this time that you've been stuck at home? And maybe, just maybe, this week, you can think about someone that you can be a Ruth to Naomi. Like when a curveball is thrown their way, you can be there to encourage them. So my encouragement to you this week is to read the 4 chapters in Ruth and see about Naomi, see about Ruth, see about Boaz. And again, just this cool story that even when curveballs are thrown your way, you can continue to trust God. I look forward to seeing you when we get together again. Have a great day.